Welcome to another episode of the Garden Vlog. So this is one of the age-raised mycorrhizal alternative beds, and we did like the totem style here for Mineola tangelo. And you can kind of see there are some drawbacks with doing this. See right there, there's like a crevice on the edge where most likely rain and all has pushed the dirt out. Over time, if you keep adding organic material, sticks and stuff, it'll probably seal itself up. But that is obviously an issue you're going to have if you do the totem, with the trunks coming up instead of down, being filled in with leaves and stuff. It shouldn't be a problem long term. You could always go behind here and do another row or two rows of trees, plant material, but you're going to have to fill in these areas with leaves or straw, something, until that mostly stops occurring. In comparison, this is a similar size, maybe a little bit smaller. You can see the tree trunks are going, flat on the ground versus up. And there are still crevices that were never filled in on the outside, and yet it is not like losing its soil here, or at least not as fast. This totem style definitely allows you to have a deeper system, so if you're putting a larger tree, like this one was already like a 10 or 15 gallon tree, into the raised bed, it was just easier to do. But like I said, you have to fill it in. There's some Spanish moss there, and we got some of this longevity spinach kind of growing, kind of leggy, probably because of how shady it is here. But hey, we got it growing here, there, and everywhere, and that's a perennial peanut there. So yeah, I guess this totem style will probably be more work in the long run than these beds like this. But you still as these things break down into compost and such, and as even when you do it like this, where everything is laid down, or most of it is laid down, there's still little crevices and all, and little holes where your broken down material can go out. It's just not as fast and not as apparent. But for years, as this breaks down, you'll probably have to add material every year for the first 4 or 5 years. I'm assuming that based on other raised beds that sink over time, and you have to fill and fill and fill, and then each year it'll be less and less you'll have to fill it. This Mineola tangelo still looks okay. There's even two fruits on it, and it could possibly hold both of them until full ripeness. It's happy, or it seems to be pretty happy. I'm attempting to clone or root that pumpkin we grew last season, or zucchini, or hybrid Seminole pumpkin, trombone, squash, and every time we put it in dirt for a while and clip it, we just clipped it yesterday, it starts looking bad. So far no success on our own attempts to root it, but it has rooted itself in the ground a few times. That's how we got this guy. This is one that we pulled up and it had its own roots, and we're trying to root it again in another little pot there, because it'd be nice to have clones to give out to people, especially if this is like a one-off seedling that produces like 70 to 80 pound squash that is really good. So now we're pretty far in the back, not the wettest part, that's probably another 100 foot that way, where we had the grapefruit that we tried to save or salvage with a post-mycorrhizal bed here. And since it looks like it's probably dead, I think this, or we might just move this bed over here another 4 or 5 foot in that direction, kind of away from this mulberry, and that raised bed there will be where we put the soft sand pear, so it'll help pollinate our pear that we already have here. So that probably won't be for a while, but hey, if we get time, we can just throw some sticks and start working on a bed here and there for a few months or weeks or whenever. Then I think that's a good spot for it. Crow flies, that's probably only going to be about 30 to maybe less than 40 feet away from where this pear is that blooms every year but doesn't have any fruit on it. Of course, we also have this other pear, which is, probably 15 foot away from that one, but it never blooms. I think this is a harvest queen or something. So it's supposed to do well in Tennessee, maybe Georgia, but here in Florida, we just may not get enough chill hours. I think, by the end of the season or the start of next season, we're going to start pulling out tire and barrels, that were previously had stuff planted in. And if there is something planted in them, do the same thing like we did with that cocktail grapefruit that we pulled out that was doing so bad. That was, the cocktail grapefruit is what our kids have planted on their, second birthday each year, somewhere in that second 2 year of age thing where they go and plant their tree. And the first tree that was planted, for our oldest son, did terrible in that. It stayed alive, it stayed small, it stayed yellow. So I just think this is a bad idea to try to grow things in these barrels and tires and like this. Here we had a banana in here. Guess what? It no longer exists. Here's that first cocktail grapefruit there. It might have got a little bit of growth, but it looks a lot healthier. There's the old tire it was in. And we just built kind of like a post-mycorrhizal bed around it. If those things are a constant failure, it's time to move on. They failed too many times, and why keep continuing to try to make something work in those tires and stuff when it just won't work? 10, 12 years, however long, it's too much time we spent trying to grow things in those barrels and tires. So moving on, no more.